So what would it take for China to act more aggressively against the United States? And I'm paraphrasing because I remember that point specifically, but the chat is going so fast I can't scroll back up to it. So could you answer that part of their question? I know it was a two-part question.
Right. So first, for China actually is not looking for a confrontation with the U.S. Unlike the U.S. is actively trying to go China into a confrontation. But China is not looking for a confrontation with the United States for a simple reason that time is on China's side. China is continuing to grow every day, every month, every year. Chinese economy keep on growing bigger and bigger, and its relative strength vis-a-vis United States continue to grow. The gap between China and United States. So China is not in a hurry to press on the issue on a military, especially a military, a hot confrontation with United States, because both sides are nuclear weapons. Anything can easily get out of the control and escalate into potentially even a nuclear exchange, which nobody wants. And the other side, I understand why a lot of people are getting kind of like impatient with, China. You have all these power. Why don't you use it? Why don't you use it to counter U.S., etc. We have to understand something. We cannot rely on China to fight our battle, right? We have to, rely on ourselves to take the country back from the Wall Street elite. This United States, you got to own it. You got to own it, and the fact that is the country of U.S. is totally hijacked by the Wall Streets, by the tycoons and all the oligarchs. It's up to us to take the country back. It's not, you can't expect, you could just sit here and wait for the helping hand from China or Russia or anybody. The fact that China and Russia exist and countering U.S. hegemony is good. There's platforms that help to expose the U.S. hypocrisy. Like when even Tucker, first of all, I don't like Tucker Carlson, but the Tucker Carlson interview, but the Tucker Carlson interview with Putin, which thankfully Tucker did not interrupt Putin too much when Putin is talking. That give a platform for Putin to share to articulate his thoughts to 200 million viewers who view the segment. And I think that Putin did a great job and to expose the U.S. hypocrisy. And
this is about self-conceit. Your political establishment does not understand that the world is changing under objective circumstances. It is not about the personality of the leader. It is about the elite's mindset. If the idea of domination at any cost, based also on forceful actions, dominates the American society, nothing will change. It will only get worse. But if, in the end, one comes to the awareness that the world has been changing due to the objective circumstances, and that one should be able to adapt to them in time, using the advantages that the US still has today, then perhaps something may change. It seems that there has never been anything like the Roman Empire in the history of mankind. Nevertheless, the potential of the barbarians gradually grew, as did their population. In general, the barbarians were getting stronger and begun to develop economically, as we would say today. This eventually led to the collapse of the Roman Empire and the regime imposed by the Romans. However, it took 5 centuries for the Roman Empire to fall apart. The difference with what is happening now is that all the processes of change are happening at a much faster pace than in Roman times.
That is helping, the fact that Russia and China exist, the fact that there are alternative channels to expose the U.S. But ultimately, the hard work to actually, to get rid of all these bloodsuckers in the Wall Street, The hard work we have to do ourselves. We cannot rely on China or Russia. This is my 2 cents.
But Carl, in closing, where do you see this thing going in the Middle East, especially with the build-up, the constant provocations between the United States, with the United States and Great Britain against Iran, and the escalation of violence in Palestine?
Yeah, I right now, U.S. won't be able to do much about the Red Sea blockade. Like I said, the Yemeni people will not bend. The Yemeni forces, they have suffered through 10 years of proxy war, of starvation. What's a couple more bombs? You know, they're not gonna yield to the U.S. pressure, and the U.S. will just looking increasingly foolish and impotent. This is the Red Sea blockade is really a Suez Canal crisis moment for the United States. For the people who may not remember what happened in the 1950s, is when the colonial power of Great Britain and France, they're trying to reassert themselves to mobilize against Nasser's nationalization of Suez Canal, and at that point, both Soviet Union and U.S. said, "Oh, what are you doing, man? You guys are not the world power anymore. What do you think you are doing? Stand down. We're not going to support you." And in the end, they had no choice but to withdraw their military and looking foolish. And that was understood to be the moment of, you know, the end of the colonial empire, of the Anglo-French colonial empire across the globe. And we are at that moment right now in the Red Sea, vis-a-vis United States, and the U.S. is being reviewed as an emperor with no clothes. They can't even tell the Yemeni forces what to do. But with regards to Israel, Palestine, I think U.S. will continue to supply weapons and ammunition to Israel, because let's face it, Israeli military cannot carry out a month-long operation without the resupply from United States. And you know, this conflict has already gone on since how many now we're in February, so it's this would not be possible without the active U.S. support. And so U.S. but unfortunately U.S. will continue to do that even while sacrificing all the U.S. soft power that built up all over the globe, because the peculiarity of the U.S. domestic politics, and no U.S. politicians want to be seen as anti-Israel. So Joe Biden, I think the Democrats are going to pay the price by losing the election in November. I really think it's going to do it. And then, I don't think there will be a escalation. Israel. But Netanyahu wants to see escalation, but I don't think U.S. is ready for the escalation, because they're already embroiled in Ukraine. I mean, they don't have any extra power. They don't have any extra left to get embroiled into another Middle East war, because their top priorities, remember, still to pivot to Asia to contain China. This is all a distraction for their grand plan. But because Israel is golden boy, so they have to stick with the golden boy. But they don't want to. This is why they probably sent that message to Iran, say, "Oh, please let us bomb you for just a little bit. You know, please don't escalate." And I think what we need to bear watching is what Israel do, because Israel has been trying to go United States into widen the conflict, you know, by making noises against Lebanon, etc. But I don't even think Israel can do much, because look, we saw what happened when Israel went to southern Lebanon 20 years ago. They got their ass kicked. You know, if they go now, they're gonna get their ass kicked even worse, because the Hezbollah actually had a lot of fighting experience, during their participation in the Syrian war, whereas the Israeli military just spent the last 10 years shooting kids, shooting kids, throwing rocks. So I don't think there's any contest. And yeah, if Israel expand the war to Lebanon, that would just be, we're just going to start to see the beginning of an end for the state of Israel. So I don't think the U.S. will let that happen. I mean, because but who knows? No, Netanyahu is crazy. So he's trying to preserve his power base right now. He's trying to preserve his own his own position as a leader of Israel. He's trying to position himself as a wartime leader, and so for him, prolonging the war is necessary so he doesn't get prosecuted for corruption and end up in a prison. So he has every incentive to keep the war going, but I don't think. But this is not good for the state of Israel. This is Israel is not. Even Israel is not designed to function under a prolonged war. I mean, at the end of the day, they need continuous stream of settlers to come in from Paris, from New York, from London, to sustain the settler colonial project in Palestine. And right now, the settlers are leaving because they're like, "Oh, what the hell? There's fight. We have to be drafted. The economy is in the shitters, and what's there left?" And most Israelis, they have options. They have dual passport. Many of them have American passport, British passport, French passport, Italian passport. There are places they can go. Russian passport. There are places they can go. They have options, unlike the Palestinians. So my guess is many will vote with their feet, and then that in the end, how can you sustain Israel if nobody wants to stay? I don't know the numbers, but I'm willing to bet not that many settlers are willing to go back to the Gaza, the settlement around Gaza after this. So long term, it doesn't look good for the Israel, especially they're not doing themselves any favors by openly flaunting their atrocity as part of their propaganda, as part of the Israeli propaganda. They really think by showing up, blowing up civilian building is going to win them points in the world. I mean, it's amazing. It's like they zero. It's either zero self-awareness or they just don't care at this point. They're just saying, "Okay, U.S. got our backs no matter what," which may be true for now, but hey, even the U.S. stays as a hegemon is coming to an end. So we'll see.
With the claps, one last thing before we get off the air. I saw a comment. I think it was from Kevin. Kevin Tuway. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your last name. I apologize for that. But he says, "I see Africa rising out of colonialism." What a lot of people don't understand is that China, China may be the manufacturing place for the world, but China has helped to set Africa up to be the manufacturing base for China. And so why does that get overlooked?
Well, when does U.S. media ever report on positive development in Africa, right? Like every time you see Africa, image of Africa in U.S. media, it's either like safari or famine, starvation, or but people don't even know there's economic development in Africa. I remember in early 2000 when I was still in college, actually in late 90s, when I was still in college, we had a Kenyan exchange students at Caltech, and one of our residential counselors, RA, asked him, "Oh, do you walk? Do you walk barefoot? They really think people in Nairobi still live in mud huts and stuff." I mean, this is highly educated American, who goes to top elite school like Caltech. This is they still have the same mentality of the Africans living in like mud huts or something. And I mean, come on, this guy is an exchange student to Caltech. Just think about it. Like, just, I mean, why would you think? Anyway, so yeah, people will probably be amazed at some of the development that's taking place on the African continent right now. And China actually have been offshoring manufacturing to Africa for over a decade now, because one reason is because U.S. is trying to put sanction on the Chinese firms, and at the they're trying to put quotas and etc. And Chinese manufacturers like, okay, well, we can put factories in Africa, and now they're made in Ethiopia instead of made in China. and this is a win-win situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It brings jobs to Africa. You still allow them to continually to export to the United States under more favorable terms. And so that has been happening for a while, and they were able to do that also because China is also helping building up infrastructure in Africa. So now Africa has ports, has railroads, has roads that once, and they have power plants, and China is building power plants. So with these, you can actually set up factories and which process goods and then ship them and load them on boats and sell them to United States. So it's win-win. And you know what? I think it's just too much to expect Americans to be aware of what's going on in Africa.
Hey, don't forget, China helped some of the African nations set up smart cities also. They have smart, and they're more advanced than anything that most of the Western countries have, and which is crazy because I want everybody that's watching, put this in the search engine, modern African cities, and then go to just browse, and they are more advanced than anything that you see in the Western world. But you don't get this on the news. So Carl is right about this, and Carl, man, I gotta say thank you, man, for joining me again, man. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. So always fun to chop this up with you, Rashid.
This is my guy right here, Carl. Thank you, man. Be blessed. I'll contact you shortly with the video and everything else, man. Thank you a million.
Always, Rashid. Anytime.
Everybody, hit the like button, subscribe, share with everybody else. On that note, thank each and every one of you for joining me on the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere across YouTube and social media. This is your platform for education, empowerment, and enlightenment. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your brother, your host, and your friend, Rashid. And know that I love you more than life if you love truth. But know that the love that I have for you will always pale in comparison to the love that the true and living God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody, and thank you all for joining me.